Hey everyone.
Hi,
Hello.
back on.
Yes, we're here again with another episode of OMG, that Teen Coach podcast. I'm Amanda.
I'm Angel.
And we're
We got a
joined today
guest.
by the amazing Eileen Barr.
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining us, Eileen.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, so glad to have you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So Eileen is an amazing health and life coach. She actually works with people who really have anxiety that stops them from doing the things that they genuinely want to do. And she helps them quiet their mind and calm their body in order to loosen the control of anxiety so that they can live life to the fullest. Now, she does work with people of all ages, but she really does also focus a lot of her coaching practice on coaching teen girls and young women who struggle with anxiety. And she's super passionate in really, helping them to build a healthy lifestyle and habits around their mind, their body, and their spirit at such a young age so that they can live into the best versions of themselves for a lifetime. So again, thanks Eileen for joining us and sharing your wisdom with us.
Well, thanks for having me. Like I said, I'm really excited. I love that you and Angel started this podcast. It's amazing and so needed to have that connection, for anybody who works with teens, for parents, teens just in general. So I'm really excited for this.
Yeah. So are we. Awesome. Well, let's get into it. Today, we're talking about a really interesting and I think hot topic. We can all agree these days around our teens and anxiety. And I feel like, things have changed in our world these days and anxiety is definitely on the rise. So I love that we're having this conversation today.
Yeah, definitely. Pre-COVID, kids and teens definitely had anxiety. And then, of course, during the pandemic, it's increased. And kids who didn't normally have anxiety now have it because of all the issues surrounding the pandemic. But yeah, before it, there's a lot that our teens and young adults experience regarding anxiety. And the reason I really got passionate about it is because I had it years and years and years ago, starting right around 16. And, back then in the 80s, there wasn't a lot that we could do about it or talk about it. And I, had to really go down a long path trying to figure out how to manage it. And so when I decided to become a life coach and health coach, I knew that was where I was going to focus in order to lessen that journey, I guess, and start at a young age so that they didn't have to go that far and struggle. I have to say too, one thing I'm seeing and I'm really excited about it is I normally see young girls and women, but I'm getting a lot more males, which I'm really excited about because there is such a stigma with males and mental illness. And I think they are getting more comfortable expressing their feelings and reaching out for help to their parents, especially. And so I have, quite a few male clients now, and I'm really excited about that because I hope that opens up the door for other young men to reach out and express themselves and get some help. So that's something else I wanted to put out there too, that I don't want it to seem that it's just something that women and girls experience. It's teens in all ages.
I love that. And it's funny because when you mentioned about how, young guys or young men are struggling with anxiety too, and then they want to reach out to other coaches, especially strong female coaches, as both of you are, that now younger guys are coming out to just reach out and just have someone hear them out. Because a lot of times we're around our friends, we're around other guys, and we don't really share about how we feel. And a lot of times that we just hold a lot of our emotions, we hold our just basically holding our emotions in, and that just allows us to, our anxieties to rise, to have depression, or to not be able to cope with things or communicate properly, because we have so much going on in our heads. I mean, it could be so many things, but I think that with the whole pandemic and all the everything going on in the news and everything like that, and the outside world, it just really just catches up with you eventually. So having, as coaches, having those one-on-one sessions with them can make a huge difference, and just allow them to have another person to hear them out, because that's all it really is at the end of the day. Because I know I've had that in my past experiences as well. So I could definitely relate with you, Eileen.
Yeah. And I think, when it comes to anxiety can be embarrassing, and you can feel ashamed, because anxiety comes out in all different ways. So when you feel nervous about being around, I don't know, your peers, or going to a party, or I have a 14-year-old boy who is very, very, very nervous and anxious about getting sick. He focuses a lot on what if I get this? What if I get this? What if I die of this? And to express it to his peers, he feels stupid. He feels embarrassed. So anxiety can come on with a lot of shame and embarrassment. So even just to have somebody to tell that to, without feeling embarrassed and ashamed and stupid, or I hear this is gonna sound stupid to you, and I'm like, believe me, it's not gonna sound stupid to me.
Yes.
So I think that's another really great point, Angel. It's just someplace they can say something without feeling embarrassed and ashamed.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And going off of what you just said, a lot of times, adults or parents especially, sometimes parents like to tell their kids, like, oh, calm down. Don't worry about it. It will just go away. A lot of times that's not going to happen, because as teens, we have so much going on. We don't know what to do. We're looking for our parents for that comfort, right?
Yeah.
So whenever we don't get that, we just feel more lost. Or even worse, sometimes even the parent can be stressed out, or even worse, depressed. And a lot of times they're going to tell their kids, oh, you know what? I have a lot of tension myself. I'm very stressed out myself. So what's going to happen next?
Right.
There's so many things that can occur depending on the situation, but those are things that you just, as parents, should try to avoid when it comes to telling other, their children on how to handle anxiety, because it could really, really damage a lot of things throughout their, adolescence. And
yeah, I agree. One thing that I hear a lot too is, if it's not from the parent, it might be from someone at school, or a peer, or a teacher. And they'll say, if I could calm down, I would. So don't tell me to calm down, because I don't know how to calm down.
Yes.
I don't know how to relax. Just relax, or don't worry about it. Really? Because if I could, I would. So those things are, I think people have the best intention to say, calm down, or don't worry about it. It's little, you'll get through it. But when you have anxiety, you don't know how to calm down. And that's something that, we work a lot on, is different kinds of skills, and I always tell teens that you're going to have anxiety and stress the rest of your life. So we're never going to get rid of it. I will never say you're going to be anxiety free, or you're going to be stress free. No, what we're going to do is try to figure out how to live with anxiety, but not have it control us, and to be able to still have it and still have a wonderful life. And to know our triggers, to know what works for us, coping skills, and be able to communicate about it. And sometimes that also, I just had a client say to me, I really thought I was going to get rid of it. I thought it was like, oh, I can get rid of anxiety. And I'm like, well, I don't know if you can ever really get rid of it. There might be a day where it's less, but I don't know if you can just I go, can you get rid of happiness? Can you get rid of frustration? No. So you're probably going to still have some anxiety.
It's all about control and how we control it. And that's the beauty about growing up and becoming adults, that it just becomes I would say it becomes easier, but it only depends on how we handle it. Am I right?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think, we all, it's just part of the human experience, right? To have all of these emotions. And I think, it's really important. What we're highlighting here is it's how you manage it. It's how do you deal with it? How do you process through these emotions? Like having those tools. And I think as coaches for young people, we have that special gift that we get to equip these young people with those tools and strategies and skills so that as they get older, they can continue to use those skills, refine those skills, and even add other tools to their toolbox to expand on what they already have that we've been able to give them. And for me, I think that's one of the biggest things, like the best part of working with young people is knowing that we are giving them this foundation for their future, because it is true. Like we are going to experience anxiety as much as we'll experience other emotions. But being able to have the tools and strategies to deal with that is so, so crucial in order to, further develop and really just live into this, we're talking about as coaches, we want them to live into their best selves and to live a fulfilling life and really just be able to be themselves and be okay with that. And even just in expressing anxiety, that's part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I like to, some of the things I like to share with my clients as well is what really triggers your anxiety? Like what are the things that makes you, what are the things that scares you, or what are the things that makes you anxious? How can we overcome your boundaries on getting past the hurdles so that way you can feel a little bit better about yourself? Because to really slow down anxiety, it's in my opinion, I believe it's really all about gaining confidence within ourselves. And once you gain more confidence, you feel a lot better about yourself. So the anxiety is not going to be there all the time. Like you mentioned, Eileen, we're always going to have anxiety no matter what. It's always going to be there. But it's all about how we control it and how we overcome our boundaries. But a lot of times anxiety makes us hold back.
Oh, yeah.
It just holds us back in so many ways where we can't move on. We can't get past certain hurdles that we want to get through. And it just slows us down in life.
Yeah.
What comes next? Comparison. Social media. I could go on and on and on about it.
Yeah.
But then that's where all these stuff come in, that they all come in.
Yeah.
Comparison. Even more anxiety is going to build up. So what I like to share is, stay away from, just try to do your best to stay away from that, because that is not going to help you be the person that you have to be.
Yeah.
Once you pass those hurdles, I like to just create game plans and just say, what did you do today to overcome your hurdles, or to overcome your anxiety, or to overcome anything that you're scared of?
Yeah.
And then celebrate the small wins.
Yeah. Celebrating the small wins are huge. Huge. And I always, when I first start a client, because, especially teens and even us as adults, we want like, okay, I want to do it now. And I want to, let's go, they're used to immediate gratification. Let's go. And I always say, we're going to start off so small. And because I want every single step to be a success, and I want you to feel great that you did it and know that and just build up that confidence and feel empowered that I can take the next step. And that's the way it, usually works the best. Some of our first steps are, sound so silly. It may sound so silly. I had a client who really wanted to get to the gym, and she was so nervous about what people were going to think of her in the gym. And we literally started off with, she was going to drive to the gym and just sit in the parking lot. That was our first step, and then we worked on, okay, the next time we're going to drive, we're going to just walk in the front door. And because I knew that if I said, okay, this week you're just going to walk into the gym, she was never going to walk into the gym the first day. There was no way she was going to. And we worked on what we could do to build up the confidence. So anyhow, it was all these small steps to get her into the gym to actually work out. And every time she felt so, I walked into the gym and I walked around and I talked to the front desk, and then she'd come home. I did it, you know. So it was big successes for little steps for her. So that is really a big deal. And I also, with social media that you brought up, you know, I always remind them that when you take a picture, how many pictures do you take before you post? And they're like, oh my gosh, I go through my reel. I'm like, no, this one's bad. This one's horrible. I said, well, that's exactly what everybody else is doing. So they pick their best picture.
Yeah.
They filter it. So you got to remember that that's just like a highlight of what their life is. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's true. They're just posting the best of their moments as well, you know. And so sometimes we also talk about, you know, if you feel that you want to get on TikTok and it's hard for you to put it down, to remember what's happening behind the scenes too. You know, that it's not that their lives are perfect and yours aren't, when that comparison starts to kick in.
Yeah, and I think too here is important to mention that anxiety kind of does show up for everyone in different ways. For some people, you know, you mentioned the gym situation or the social media situation, or, you know, there's such a range, you know, maybe it's taking a test, maybe it's, you know, figuring out where am I going for college. Like there's so many ways that anxiety can show up. And I think allowing that space as well is important. And also just around this conversation of anxiety and that we are all coaches, I do want to touch on that there is a space for, you know, supporting anxiety in coaching, but there is also, you know, this space for therapy as well, because there is certain anxiety that can be so severe that it does make it difficult for you to manage on a daily basis. And, you know, just because we are having this conversation around anxiety, I feel it's important to mention that there is also a space for beyond the scope of coaching in terms of anxiety, and being able to, you know, though I have some clients who do have anxiety and they see me and a therapist, so we can work in partnership, but sometimes there's certain anxiety that is so severe that therapy is a must.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I always say to the parent and the client in the beginning too, is I'm not a therapist. This is how I work. And if in the beginning, especially as I'm getting to know your child, or if it's a young adult, and I think, you know, we need some more support here. You know, are you open to that? And I am the same way. I've had clients go see their general practitioner, and they've had to work on maybe some medication in the beginning because their panic was so heightened. They were almost having to go to like an ER or seek medical attention, and they just needed something to calm those chemicals down. And there's also clients whose anxiety stems from maybe a trauma that needs to be deep dived with a therapist or psychologist. And so I'm a big fan of it takes a village. For some, you know, we might need a psychiatrist, we might need a therapist, we might need a, you know, general doctor to work together. So whatever's best for the client. I agree, Amanda, that it may be something, depression also, that, you know, could be. I also had a client I think a year ago that really had some obsessive compulsive tendencies with the anxiety, and I knew that needed some attention. That I was not able to or qualified to address. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I had a client as well that that was dealing with that too. There'll be sessions where he'll be talkative and he'll be telling me all the good things that happened to him at work, or the good things that happened to him at school. But then the next session is just like, oh, I'm not feeling myself. I'm not, you know, I'm not feeling right. I'm feeling depressed. And I would tell him, like, well, have you spoken to your therapist? Have you reached out to a therapist? Because sometimes you might need more than coaching. And a lot of times depression can really do that. And it's funny that you mentioned that, sometimes you need stimulants to help you cope with those chemicals, to help you calm down. Because right now we're living in such a fast-paced world where there's people that can't keep up. One day you can have a great day. And once you have those good days, it's just a great high, a great natural high that we get. But once something happens, or once something that does not go our way, or doesn't go the client's way, here goes the downfall.
Yeah.
There comes the depression, or here comes the anxiety again.
Sometimes
sometimes they don't even know how to handle that. They need to be
exactly.
They just need someone to hold their hand the whole way around. But it's all about teaching how to be more strong about it, the strengths on how to overcome it on your own. And that's when the confidence, once bringing confidence again, that's where the confidence comes in. And I totally understand that not everybody's the same. Not everybody's gonna have the same ego. And sometimes our ego could get the best of us. And sometimes we may feel that we're better than others, or that we don't need any help. And that comes with guys too. A lot of times guys say, oh, I don't need the help. I can handle it. But deep inside, it's not true. How do I know? It's because I was that person as well. I'm a professional guy. So I know from past experience, I never needed help. I could always handle it myself. But then once I've learned when I was younger on how to talk it out, the benefits of talking to someone, a trustworthy person, to talk about it, it just made me feel so much better. To release my anger, to release the stress, to release the sadness, to release the issues that I've had going on. And that's what I like to teach others. I like to teach younger individuals on how to handle that. And in today's world, we need that more than ever, right? So.
Well, yeah, I agree. And I think that's sometimes too what happens is, anxiety grows when we feed it, just like anything else. And, expressing it, just getting it out, just saying it, just expressing how they feel. Because if, it's always buried in here, it just grows. And it can come up physically. So there's a lot of clients who have stomach issues, migraines, all sorts of things that it'll start to come out physically. And I think it's really important that I always tell clients, when we're happy, we sit in the happiness. When we're joyful, we sit in the joy. But when we're angry or sad or depressed, we don't want it. We just try to push it away. We suppress it. But emotions are emotions. In some years ago, somebody labeled them positive and negative, but they're just really simply emotions. And we're supposed to experience all of them. So, it gives them a space to express anger, frustration, sadness, anxiety. And I always say, if we sit with it, even for 15 minutes, it's probably going to pass. But when we stop it and try to keep fighting it, it's just it wants to get out, Yeah. So that's another tool, is just be anxious for a couple minutes. Don't fight it. Feel it like you would joy. And joy doesn't stay forever. Are you happy forever? No. So let this pass as it would any other emotion. It's something you have to work on. But again, it's that anxiety's bad, negative, oh, yuck. It's not always bad.
Actually, it's pretty good sometimes.
Yeah, it can teach us a lot of things, I think, like if we can actually sit with the emotion and really listen to what is it that anxiety is trying to tell me here. And I feel like being mindful of how our emotions affect us and how they are like brought on, like what triggers that emotion, whether it's on the positive or negative or however you want to frame it, like just the emotions in general, however they present themselves, we just when we're looking on the side of anxiety and, maybe, on the what's classified more as like a negative emotion, it's, we're not setting up camp and we're gonna, stay there. And
Right.
and I think that's how those emotions begin to fester. And that is where it gets a bit negative. But if we're just experiencing the emotion, it doesn't have to be negative.
Yeah.
Those are, when it comes to anxiety, what I found very interesting is that the benefits of anxiety is that those are basically alert signs, right? They're alert signs of what's about to happen, or issues that we need to handle within ourselves. Those are just alert signs. And like you mentioned, Eileen, before, is that, take it as a positive, because those are signs that you need to take care of those certain things. It could be anything. It could be, taking care of an errand, a test that you need to do the next day. You need to study. So it's not always bad. It's just an uneasy feeling that we all get, where we need to get things done. And sometimes we feel that when we get anxiety, it's always a negative thing, and then more things start piling up. People get in the way. People don't make us feel good. And when people don't make us, when we're looking for that comfort, we don't get it, it just piles on. But as individuals, how can we manage that to the best of our abilities to overcome those hurdles? And once we do that, that's how you ease the tension. That's how you ease anxiety. That's how you control anxiety. Like you mentioned, anxiety is always going to be there, but it's all about controlling it.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's just an alert sign. Take it as a benefit. It's an alert sign to what needs to happen next.
Yeah, and I think too, when we get anxiety, it usually stemmed from something that was maybe fearful or scary, or an experience. What happens is we attach it, and then to everything else that's similar to that. When if we stop and we go back and we say, yeah, that was scary, and our brain kicked into the fear of, hey, alert, danger, or something needs to be handled here. But it doesn't necessarily mean that every time that thing occurs again, that it's going to have the same result. So for instance, I have a client who's afraid to drive alone on highways and stuff. Bad experience. But that doesn't mean every time she gets in a car, that experience is going to happen again, but that attached to it. So we have to go back and kind of realize that alert goes on, but it doesn't necessarily mean that same consequence is going to happen. So it's great that the alert goes on. However, we have to kind of say to that, our brain, hey, thanks for that alert, but that was just a once in a, that is most likely not going to happen again. And then we kind of go through all the things of, all the evidence. I always say, let's pull out the evidence of when did that happen prior, how many times did that happen to that event, and kind of break up. So it's sometimes our alerts are a habit also that just keep going on when the consequence is most likely not going to happen again.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of breaking that alert system. Like, okay, we don't need that alert on anymore. Let's take that alert off.
Being mindful of our alerts, right?
Yes.
Because they happen all the time.
Yeah, they happen all the time. And hey, thanks for helping me, 4 years ago, but I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
And onto like, in the topic of health and wellness, when it comes to anxiety, it's all about what we put on our bodies as well, right? Eating a well-balanced meal, eating right.
Oh yeah.
Which really helps the anxiety as well, and how we think and the energy we get from it. Because a lot of times when we feel anxiety, or we feel tense, or we feel depressed, or we feel that we need some of that comfort food, we're gonna go after, the fast food, the McDonald's, whatever is around you, just to as a quick comfort, just to make us feel a little bit better. But then afterwards, then we don't really feel that good afterwards. we feel bad about why do we eat that?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I just go to that? Why did I go to that restaurant? Why did I eat that burger? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just the anxiety's coming back, or,
Yeah.
us feeling upset with ourselves on why we did that. And
Yeah, it fuels the anxiety again.
It did. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really, I'm a big, I encourage my clients to drink a lot of water. Sleep is a huge, huge, huge benefit. I mean,
Yep.
well, anxiety affects sleep, but even if it doesn't, even if, I always about powering down, getting a good sleep. And you're right, Angel, what are we putting into our bodies? Are you crashing a lot because you're eating a lot of sugar or carbs or whatever? You having these sugar highs and then crashing, and maybe a lot of the kids too, especially in college, they're into the energy drinks and, to stay up late and study, and then they're crashing and they have no energy. So yes, absolutely. It's a huge part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many factors, I think, that kind of go into anxiety. And I feel like we could talk about anxiety all day long. I love this topic. I think that there are so many people out there actually suffering from anxiety, and there is a way out. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's another professional, but oftentimes anxiety does need support. I think we can all kind of agree to that point, that, whether it's support, like we're, as us as coaches, or when we're talking about, other strategies of, sleeping and eating well. And there's so many things that can go into that, but being able to talk that through and know what your triggers are super, super important for being able to overcome anxiety. And kind of with that, I'm sad to say that we kind of made it to the end of our episode today. I'm like, I don't want this to end. This is such a great conversation. Right? Like anxiety, because, it's so universal. And like, we can really, as coaches, we're so passionate because we do support so many people through this. And we see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that it is possible. So yeah, with that, Eileen, maybe if you can share with us what would be the best way, if someone's listening and wants to get in touch with you, what would be the best way for someone to do that?
Okay, so it's just Eileen Barr, my Facebook page. So you can go on my Facebook page, you can DM me. My email for my business is coachingmindandbody@gmail.com. My website is, I gotta be honest with you, I don't really use my website that much. So really, honestly, you can look at it if you'd like. But the best way for me is my email or my Facebook. So those are the best ways to get a hold of me. And thank you so much for having me. This was great. I love talking about it. Like you said, I could talk about it for hours.
Right? Well, thanks so much for joining us. And we will put all of Eileen's links. So if anybody does want to get in touch with her, she is awesome. And we are so grateful for her to have joined us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Eileen. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. And please let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on anxiety, what tools and strategies maybe you use that have really helped you to overcome anxiety, because that can help others maybe. And yeah, with that, we will see you all next time. Bye.